The Watcher. When Jessica and her husband Mark moved into their new home, they thought it was the perfect place to start a family. Nestled at the end of a quiet cul-de-sac in a small, friendly town, the house was everything they had dreamed of. It had a spacious backyard, a cozy fireplace, and large windows that let in plenty of natural light. On the first night in their new home, as they unpacked boxes and sipped wine, they found a note slipped under their front door. It was written in neat, precise handwriting on a piece of aged paper. Jessica unfolded it and read aloud, "Welcome to your new home. I am the Watcher. I have been watching this house for many years, and now that you are here, I will be watching you too. Enjoy your stay." Jessica laughed nervously, showing the note to Mark. "It's probably just some kids playing a prank," she said, trying to sound casual. But a shiver ran down her spine as she thought about someone watching their every move. Mark crumpled the note and threw it away. "Yeah, it's just a prank. Don't let it get to you." The next few days were busy as they settled into their new routine. But Jessica couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. She caught glimpses of shadows moving outside the windows and heard strange noises at night. She tried to brush it off, but the unease grew with each passing day. One evening, while Mark was working late, Jessica heard a soft knock at the door. She peered through the peephole but saw no one. When she opened the door, she found another note on the doormat. "I see you, Jessica. I see everything. Don't forget, I am always watching." Her heart pounded in her chest as she looked around, but the street was empty. She quickly locked the door and called Mark, telling him about the note. He tried to reassure her, but she could hear the worry in his voice. They decided to install security cameras around the house. Mark set them up the next day, covering every angle. Jessica felt a bit safer, knowing they would have footage if anything strange happened again. That night, as they reviewed the camera feeds, they saw nothing unusual. But just as they were about to turn in for the night, the screen flickered. A figure appeared on the screen, standing just outside the fence. It was a tall, shadowy figure, watching the house. "Who the hell is that?" Mark muttered, his eyes narrowing. Jessica's hand shook as she pointed to the screen. "Look at the timestamp. It's 3 a.m. We didn't hear anything." The figure stood there for a few minutes, then slowly turned and walked away, disappearing into the darkness. They reported the incident to the police, but there was little they could do. The figure was too far away to be identified. The next few weeks were a nightmare. Every night, the Watcher would appear on the camera feed, standing in the same spot, staring at the house. Jessica's nerves were frayed, and she barely slept. Mark tried to stay strong for her, but he was clearly affected too. One night, Jessica woke up to the sound of footsteps inside the house. She shook Mark awake, and they listened in terror as the footsteps moved from room to room. Mark grabbed a baseball bat and crept downstairs, with Jessica close behind. They found another note, this time on the kitchen table. "You're getting too close. Stop trying to find me, or you'll regret it." Mark's face was pale as he read the note. "This has gone too far. We need to get out of here." They decided to stay at a hotel for a few nights, hoping the Watcher would lose interest. But even at the hotel, Jessica couldn't escape the feeling of being watched. She would catch glimpses of the shadowy figure in the corners of her vision, always disappearing before she could get a good look. One night, while Mark was in the shower, Jessica received a call. The voice on the other end was low and chilling. "You can run, but you can't hide. I will always be watching." She dropped the phone, her heart racing. She felt trapped, hunted. No matter where they went, the watcher followed. Desperate, they decided to move out of the house. They sold it at a loss and moved to a different town, far away from the nightmare. But even in their new home, the feeling of being watched never left. Months passed, and they tried to rebuild their lives. But the damage had been done. Jessica's paranoia grew, and Mark's frustration turned to anger. Their relationship strained under the weight of constant fear. One night, as Jessica sat alone in the living room, she felt a familiar chill. She turned to see the shadowy figure standing in the doorway. She screamed, but no sound came out. The figure stepped forward, and she saw its face for the first time. It was Mark, but twisted and distorted, his eyes empty and hollow. "I told you, you can never escape me," he whispered, his voice echoing in her mind. She woke up in a cold sweat, realizing it was just a dream. But the fear was real. She knew the watcher was still out there, waiting, watching. Years later, as Jessica lived alone in a small apartment, she received a package. Inside was a single, faded note. "I will always be watching." The watcher had never left, and he never would.